Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It is Wednesday. It's September 6th. It is 2023. Last day before the NFL season gets kicked off and rolling here. Joined today by Timothy Buell, TastefulTides in the DFS streets. Tim, what's happening, my friend?
Yeah, not much, man. It's just we were just talking about doing some NFL content and getting ready for the season. Yeah, I'll be doing Grinders live every Sunday at 9:30 a.m. with Dean and Bobby Gomes. So I'm pretty excited for that. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm hoping for a good season of DFS results and content.
Yeah, I'm like 10 hours deep over the last 24 hours in NFL Week 1 research. So, yeah, definitely ready for the NFL season. I mean, you do all the research for like best balls, and then all of a sudden you like have to turn that into week 1. So, but yeah, a ton of fun, and we got a nice little baseball slate. Everybody's saying "Holy Houston" on Tuesday. Holy Houston, indeed. They had a game, so I mean, my slate kind of ended early. Like I had Singer and I didn't have Astros, so I mean, my team. I was telling Tim like my team's actually really solid. Even with Singer, like all my hitters did something, and it's just one of those slates. So yeah, one of those
Yeah,
interesting slates.
I pitched Singer myself, and I did not have a very good slate. I did have her win my Giants Cubs over bet, so I'm pretty happy with that. So that saved me a little bit.
Yeah, I had like a Royals, Mets, Braves stack with Singer and Fayad, and the really low owned like Royals did their thing. I mean, Velasquez scored like 19 and he was 2.5, and Massey was under 1% and he scored like 19. So always
Hmm.
good when those guys work out. Singer just didn't work out, which I mean it is what it is. So let's talk some baseball. We got a nice little 6 gamer here on today's podcast. Pretty split slates throughout the day. But we're gonna focus on the main slate here. If I seem distracted, the RotoGrinders season-long football draft is happening right now, and I'm trying to do both. So don't mind me if I blab on. That's probably why. All right, we got Detroit at New York facing the Yankees today. This game has a 9 total. The Yankees are a 165 favorite. We got Schmidt and Manning in this one. Any interest here in Matt Manning?
You know, I actually do. Just because, like, if you're not going to pitch, you know, two top aces like Strider and Scherzer, or Strider and Verlander, you're going to need somebody in this price range if you're going to get any bats at all. So I think that he's actually kind of an interesting play. He's priced pretty affordably. He's got good control against right-handed bats. He, limits the damage against them. Um, like he's got a pretty decent K rate against right-handed bats. This Yankees team is very right-handed heavy. Um, so I think he is absolutely worth a shot in GPPs. Like, I just think that if you like just the way lineup construction sets up, I think that he has to be a part of your GPP pool.
Yeah, I don't think that is a crazy idea. At 6,700, we do have again, like we have the Braves on this slate, and we don't really expect Dakota Hudson to be able to shut down Atlanta. So, I mean, if you're going to try to play some of those teams, I think Tuki Toussaint is kind of the potential chalky play. And then like Schmidt on the other side of this game, like these guys in this like range, like there's, I mean, plenty of ownership that's going to be in this range just in general. So I don't mind Manning. The Yankees definitely strike out. Manning's been pitching pretty good here recently. My problem with Manning is he's not a huge strikeout guy. And if you can't attack the Yankees lineup, they can pound you, man.
No, I
Pitch really,
know. Yeah.
yeah. I
I
mean,
mean,
pitch really well
but
last time out against them.
Right. And the thing is, like, I wouldn't fault you if you're like, Tim, you're stupid. I'm stacking the Yankees. If you said that to me, I'd be fine with that. But because I also have interest in Schmidt, and I'll tell you one thing: if Tukey's the chalk cheap guy, then I have a lot of interest in Schmidt and Manning because I have no interest in Tukey. So especially if Tukey's going to be chalk. So if Schmidt and Manning are going to be lower owned than Tukey, then I have a lot of interest in both these guys.
I think the chalk will be Schmidt and Tukey. I don't think it will be Manning, but I mean, I could be wrong. Let's go to Schmidt on the other side of this game, 7,100 on DraftKings. Pitch count wise, way better pitch count than Manning. Like, that's the one thing with Manning that we don't love is like he doesn't go out and he's not fully extended into like that 100 range. Schmidt, great matchup against Detroit. Struggled last time out against him. Had 7 strikeouts. Just struggled with some walks, and it cost him a little bit. But yeah, I mean, on this slate, I mean, at 7,100, he sets up as a really good play.
Really strong control. Does a good job keeping the ball on the ground. 25% strikeout rate against righties. 20% against lefties. That's really decent on this slate for 7,100. So I definitely have interest in both of these pitchers. So I mean, it's going to be a tough slate because you've got Strider, and then you also have Scherzer. So it's like you're going to have to find some semblance of value, some semblance of low price pitching if you're going to play any high end bats.
Any interest in the Detroit bats in this one?
I mean, I suppose you could maybe pay like Baду maybe at 3,200. He'll probably be batting leadoff. None of these, like, I don't really want to pay up for like Torkelson or Carpenter or McKinstry. So I really strongly prefer Schmidt for this game.
Yeah, I mean, if we're getting decent ownership here on if we're decent ownership on Schmidt, I could see going like a Parker Meadows, Kerry Carpenter, and then finding a third piece like a lefty. Like Schmidt, when he struggles, it's against lefties. So like I could see rolling like a 3-man Detroit lefty stack out there, chasing some home runs. It's in Yankee Stadium, so I could see myself doing something along those lines here. Yankees bats against Manning. Any interest in the Yankees here?
I mean, obviously the usual suspects of Judge, Torres, Stanton, all fine. Jason Dominguez, 3,100. I think he'd be a fine play. Peraza, 2,800. I guess he's relatively cheap. So yeah, I still kind of like Manning in this matchup, but I've got no issue with getting to some of these Yankees bats. Like, let's face it, like if you're making 20 teams on this slate, you're going to be playing some Manning on some teams. You're going to be playing some Yankees on some other teams. Like, you're just going to have to do that because they absolutely have a ceiling in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, again, like if Manning's going to get some ownership here, I don't mind. Stacking up the Yankees. This game's in Yankee Stadium. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that overall, I'm much more interested in like the pitching in this game. But if ownership dictates like this game just being, or the pitchers in this game just being too popular, I could definitely get on some bats here, just to get different. All right, we got Mets at Nationals. It sounds like we're going to see Jose Budo pitch for the Mets. That's kind of what was announced. There's no total on this game because it was recently announced earlier today. But add-on pitching for Washington. Any interest here in Budo?
I mean, I think it's the similar kind of case that I made for Manning goes for Budo. Like he's a very, very cheap option on a slate where we're going to need cheap pitchers. Problem is that Washington they just don't strike out like at all. So it's like Babbitt's really going to have to be in his favor. But I still think he's going to be a part of the pool. I think he's got to be part of the pool.
Sorry, again, distracted because I had like three people queued and they all got drafted. My concern with him is he really hasn't pitched deep. I know he's like stretched out because he was pitching like starting in the minors and he was stretched out in the minors, but like we really haven't seen him throw like a full session recently. I will say, like, with Carrasco being shut down for the season, maybe we see him go 80 pitches here at 6,500. Washington is not the worst matchup. But overall, man, I probably don't play him in this spot. I guess you could do worse. Add on the other side of this game, no interest for me in him at all. Mets are kind of rolling right now.
Yeah, and I honestly, the three pitchers that we've mentioned before him, I like better. So I see no reason to like go down to the $5,900 mark. I like the Mets quite a bit as a stack, I'll tell you that, but I have no interest in a dome.
I like the Mets bats. I think they're in a great spot today. You know, we talked about them yesterday. Lindor, Alonso, they did their thing. Nimmo had a good game. What do you like here for the Mets today?
Yeah, I'd go right back. I would go right back to Nimmo for only $4,200. Like that seems insanely cheap. Alvarez, if he gets to start, $3,500. I think he's in a great spot. Lindor, obviously, $4,800. Beatty's $2,700. Like this stack seems super affordable. Like you could pay up for a high-end stud pitcher like Strider, play one of these mid-range guys that we've talked about, and get some of these Mets guys. Like I think that's a really, really solid play on the slate.
Washington bats. I mean, I don't necessarily love Washington in general here. Kaboom at 3,800 is someone I wouldn't mind maybe taking a shot on or two. But I mean, one of the reasons that like you have to like think like, do I play Budo is because it's like, you know, do we take shots because this team is just not good. Blankenhorn was called up recently. He's 3K. He should crack the lineup today. So don't mind him. He's someone that has some power and he's 3K. So he's probably the guy that I'd be looking at as like a cheap one-off in this spot.
For the cheap guy, I completely agree with you. And then if you wanted to go up, I'm always a big fan of CJ Abrams. So like if you're at that price point, you need somebody. Obviously, I like Lindor more, but I think Abrams is a really solid player all around.
All right, moving on. We got St. Louis at Atlanta. 9 total in this game. Braves a 300 favorite. Strider against Hudson.
Are they really, or do you just copy and paste that every single day? Just so
I should, man. I should. I shouldn't even look. I should just say it. But no, they are. They're 295 on some books, but most books are 300. Any interest here in Dakota Hudson?
No. He's in a really bad spot on Wednesday.
I say it all the time. My job's just to ask. Low strikeout guy, tries to generate ground balls. Not a good spot. Not a good spot at all. Facing like Albies, Riley, Olsen, Ozuna. Like these guys are fly ball hitters. Like that's not what Dakota Hudson wants to see today, especially when he can't.
He gives up over 50% hard hits to both sides of the plate. He's a 14% K rate pitcher. I mean, he is like, there's no way I'd play him. Like at 150, I'd X mount.
Atlanta, we got Strider on the hill. He's 12-3. He has paid off this price tag recently. He has plenty of strikeout ability. I mean, when you're looking at just raw points, I definitely prefer him over Scherzer and Verlander. If you're going up in this 10K range, like it's a no-brainer for me. Not saying I'll necessarily do it, but I mean, this might be one of those slates that I plug in Strider and I play one of these cheap guys, and then just kind of build bats around him because I don't think no one can touch the ceiling on this slate.
I mean, I'm 1000% pitching Strider. Like the matchup for Scherzer and Verlander, it's just not the best. So like Strider is in such a good spot. I mean, well, he's not in the best matchup he could be in. It's a relatively low K rate matchup with St. Louis, but I don't really care. Strider can strike out the world. So I'm going to be rostering him.
No interest for me in the Cardinals bats. You know, we've talked about it a lot recently. They're pinch hitting guys. They're just not giving us like full games out of these guys. I can't do it on the Cardinals bats today.
Yeah, no chance.
Atlanta, I mean, they're the top stack on the slate, and it seems like we say that every single day. But I mean, if you can make them work, like Hudson is not a guy that's going to go out there and blow the ball by people. I think this is a great spot for Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, they're all in play. That's the scary thing about this team. Each and every single day, they're all in play, both sides of the plate against just about anybody. It's like, Albies at 5,700, Acuna, obviously. I mean, Acuna should be 7K. If they're going to make him 7K at Coors, they should make him 7K in this matchup. Don't you think? at home in Atlanta against Dakota Hudson, like he should be 7K.
He was my lowest scoring hitter on on Tuesday night. He scored 2 fantasy points. He was my lowest scoring guy, most expensive guy I paid for, and also lowest scoring guy. But yeah, I mean, he should be up there every single day. His home run and stolen base upside is just so incredibly high. And he gets on base so much that it's so hard not to have that guy. I mean, like he's breaking records out there. So
and Michael Harris at 4,500 seems a little cheap too. So I mean, yeah, like these guys are firmly in play.
Yeah, people don't like playing him either because where he hits in the lineup, but I don't mind it at all. So
yeah, I would do not shy away from that on this slate at all.
All right, Chicago White Sox, Kansas City Royals, 9.5 total, slight pick 'em, but I mean slight favorite to the Royals at -120. Toussaint and Lyles. I like the runs in this game. I do. But let's start with Touki Toussaint. As far as like cheap pitching goes, Touki Toussaint is someone that he has upside. His strikeout rate 30% against right-handed hitting this season. You know, you think Garcia, Perez, Witt. I mean, they're gonna have 4, 5, 6 righties in this lineup. So like there is strikeout upside in this matchup. What are your thoughts on Toussaint?
I understand the K rate. I just can never get by the walks. Like he has got no control, and it's just like I think this is a pretty good spot for the Royals. And so, like we said at the beginning of the show, it's going to come down to ownership. Like if he's going to be the popular one over Schmidt and Manning, then there's no chance I'm touching him. And I'll be much, much heavier on the Royals. If he's not going to be the chalky cheap guy, then I might change course and roster him. But it's like I don't know. Like I'd rather stack the Royals than pitch Touki.
I could see it both ways. Like if I'm building 3 lineups on this slate, I could definitely see playing Touki on one and stacking the Royals on another. Because I mean, definitely. I think these 3 cheap pitchers that we've talked about, like all 3 of them are in play. Toussaint has upside. His walks are concerning, but like the Royals have one of the lowest walk rates in baseball against right-handed pitching. So I mean, they're not a very high walk team. There's strikeout upside in this lineup. So yeah, I mean, Toussaint again, I think he's in play, but we're gonna definitely talk about these Royals bats here in a second. I can tell you for certain though, not playing Jordan Lyles today.
Yeah, definitely not playing Jordan Lyles. We can cross him off.
Huge power, struggles with strikeouts. I mean, there's not been many times recently where I was like, hey, let's load up on some White Sox bats, but I could definitely see using the White Sox as like a secondary stack today, whether it's like a 4-4 type of build or using 3 of them. I do think like this team is a secondary stack today for sure.
I completely agree with you. Like Andrew Vaughn at 3,100 seems extremely cheap. Eloy at 3,800, Benintendi 3,300. Those guys right there as like a skinny stack, that's a super cheap, high upside stack. I mean, Tim Anderson, he's Tim Anderson. He's really struggled this year, but he's only 3,300. Like, I'm fine with that in this matchup. I say go for it. I love the White Sox in this matchup, especially if we keep getting great hitting weather like we have been. So I love the White Sox.
Kansas City bats. I mean, we kind of already hinted towards it, but I use the Kansas City Royals a lot on Tuesday's slate. They're the only reason that I'm like somewhat even close with Singer in my lineup. So I mean, I definitely don't mind looking at these cheap lefties again. I think that obviously if you want and can fit Witt in, sure, go for it. I mean, he's been phenomenal, but I mean, these cheap Kansas City lefties, man, no one likes to play him. And I mean, this is a great spot. Like Toussaint really struggles with lefties. So definitely looking at some value here.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, don't forget about, MJ Melendez, Massey, even a guy like Drew Waters. I think he'd be in the lineup. Super cheap. I think that it's a great matchup for them. So Bobby Witt, like maybe he's too expensive, but I think some of these cheap guys as fill-in plays, like when you're pitching Strider, I think they're a smash.
Cruising along, we got Houston at Texas. Scherzer and Verlander facing off against each other. 8.5 total, straight pick'em game in this one. I mean, future Hall of Famers. Let's just be honest. That's what they are. I mean, this is just one of those games that is so tough for me. I don't really have a ton of interest in Verlander and Scherzer, and I don't have a ton of interest in the bats in this game. What are your thoughts here on Verlander first, I guess?
So I'm kind of glad to hear you say what you said, because my first instinct is just to fade this whole game. Like, if I'm, like at a 3 max, I'm not touching this game. I don't think Verlander or Scherzer has really the ceiling in these matchups to pay off these salaries. And I also, other than maybe taking a couple one-offs, like a Garcia against Verlander, I don't really have much interest at all in the bats either. Like, this is a very weird game, and I think that they're priced kind of like perfectly. So like, I don't think they have much ceiling.
I could see stacking Texas.
Yeah.
If they're going to be really low owned, like Verlander is someone that, I mean, has definitely struggled from time to time. When he's on, he's on. Scherzer has been pitching great ever since he landed in Texas. He's just been phenomenal. But Verlander's been hit or miss. I honestly just think that this is a spot you could stack Texas at very, very low ownership. And I don't hate it.
And I think that you'd want to get exposure to the righties, right? Because Verlander's reverse splits. Like,
I mean, honestly, like Seager and then Garcia, and I build from there. I hate playing Marcus Semien because I hate paying the price for him.
Right.
But that's personal. Like, I love saving money at second base and catcher. I've talked about this for years, but
right.
Garcia,
so like,
I think
Mitch Garver.
Yeah, Garver's a good one. Whoever catches, like whether it be Heim or Garver, I think either one of those guys very much in play. And then Lowe would be someone I think you could take shots on. And then just maybe a cheap bat that cracks the lineup, depending on who would be in there for Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. See, like, I like the idea of stacking against Verlander way more than
playing him,
rostering Verlander.
Oh, I feel the same way. I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, we finish it out with Baltimore at LA taking on the Angels. 9 total. Orioles a 120 favorite. We got Gibson and Sandoval facing off against each other here. Any interest at Gibson at 8,300?
I don't want to, but given the slate, and I'm assuming Otani's not going to play. He hasn't played the last 2 nights. Like, I'm going to assume he's not going to again.
He wanted to play Tuesday for what it's worth. The coach.
He did. He did.
So
okay. Well, that changes things.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he's back in the lineup.
All right. Well, that changes things because this lineup without Otani is just so horrible. So I don't mind Gibson, but I mean, if Otani's in there, that changes my opinion a little bit.
Yeah, I think that overall, if Otani's out of the lineup, I think we're both in the same position where I think you could take shots on him. If Otani is back in the lineup, then it gets a lot tougher, I think. So, yeah, I mean, overall, it really just kind of depends on if Otani plays or not for me.
Yeah, because I really don't mind Gibson at all. Like, he's a little bit more expensive than that Schmidt-Manning tier, but I think he would be relatively worth it if we knew Otani was out.
Sandoval on the other side of this game. Baltimore's great. Sandoval struggles with walks and command. He's not a guy that typically gives up like a ton of home runs. I don't think he's given up a multiple home run game this season. I was talking about it last time he pitched. So I think if I remember that correctly, I don't think this is a spot I want to play Sandoval. I have more interest in the Baltimore bats.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Sandoval is 77. Yeah, so I'd much rather get up to Gibson or down to Schmidt or Manning or even down all the way to Tukey. So, yeah, I think Sandoval kind of gets squeezed for me. This is not a good matchup at all.
Derek, Otani, you asked, Derek asked, I don't understand why Otani isn't shut down before he somehow makes the elbow worse. I can tell you from certainty, doing this twice with my elbow, it doesn't hurt the hit. It really hurts the throw. Pain tolerance kind of thing with hitting, and I mean, it really hasn't slowed him down too much. Bats, Baltimore bats here. What are your thoughts here on the Baltimore bats?
Ryan Mountcastle at 4,600 probably be my favorite. Adley 51 would probably be my second favorite. Let me see. And Santander and Hayes. All these righties, right? I mean, they're not cheap, but I don't think they're going to be very popular either. So I think that this is a very, very solid contrarian stack. Late night hammer.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I would use them as. I don't think that they'll get a ton of ownership here. I think overall that Baltimore is just a team that I love to play. They have cheap guys you can typically play in their lineup. They have expensive guys with tremendous amount of upside. People will shy away lefty on a couple of these guys, and I don't mind that. But, I mean, if you're not playing like Olsen or Alonso at first base, man, Mountcastle is a great pivot in tournaments.
Mountcastle's a 352 ISO against lefties this year.
Yeah, he's crushing them.
I mean, he crushes lefties. So, I mean, I love him as like a tournament pivot.
Angels bats. Any interest in the Angels here?
Not really. I'm trying to make a case for somebody, but it's not really coming to me unless we get Otani. But I really want no piece of this team.
Yeah, I mean, Moniak, Moustakas,
yeah.
Cheap lefties against Gibson. I don't mind those guys. But yeah, not a ton of interest in the Angels. It really just kind of depends on who's in and who's out for this one. All right, morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here. I feel like we cruised. The draft isn't even done. We're in round 10 of 14, so there we go. We were cruising today. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. Who do you like for that today?
I'm going to go with Schmidt.
I'll go Manning. I think Manning has maybe a little bit more strikeout upside than Toussaint. The Yankees have a lot of strikeouts in this lineup. I mean, probably Toussaint. It's one of those two guys, probably. Like on my three teams, it's probably Strider, Manning, Strider, Toussaint, Strider, Schmidt for me. For what it's worth.
Or Gibson, right? Like, I think Gibson's worth considering also.
No, it's the three I just said, Tim. Gosh, no, I'm just kidding. Over 8K to score under 15. Who's your bust today?
Man, that's got to be a weird one on this slate. Verlander.
Yeah, Verlander is who I was thinking too. I'll go Gibson.
Yeah.
Over 4K to hit a home run. Who's going yard today?
Mountcastle.
All right, I like that one. I think it just sets up as a really good spot for Matt Olson. Hate going first base, but I think this sets up really good for Matt Olson. Fly ball hitter against a ground ball pitcher, generates more line drives, and Hudson is not a guy that's going to throw the ball by anybody. So love Olson today. Under 4K to get 2 hits. Who's a cheap bat that you like today?
Under 4K. Well, I wanted to do Andrew Vaughn, but I already did a first baseman. So let's do Eloy.
All right, I'm going to go MJ Melendez from the Royals today.
I like that quite a bit. That's a good one.
And then stack to score 6 or more runs. Who's getting the job done today?
White Sox.
I like that. I think the White Sox are in a great spot. Give me the Mets. I like the Mets today. Yeah. I think they're in a good spot. They've been hitting the ball well. So give me Mets. Tim, football right around the corner. Tomorrow we got Wednesday or Thursday. The football podcast will come out Wednesday night. We'll be recording baseball and the football podcast here on YouTube. So if you haven't already, subscribe and you want to come hang out with us for either the MLB or the NFL show. NFL show is usually a good hour and a half. Like that show is a long one. We break down every game in the main slate, and week one always seems to take longer. Let's be honest. So,
are you doing that? Are you doing the football show with Keith?
Yep, me and Keith back for football this year. Excited for that.
Nice.
Gosh, man, these guys keep taking my guys. Like right when I'm like in the middle of talking, I have to try to figure out like 3 in a row right there. 3 in a row. Hope everyone has a fantastic Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow talking football and baseball. 2 separate podcasts. Like I said, make sure you subscribe to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind YouTube page and turn on those notifications. And that way you'll know when we're live for both of them. So have a good one, and we'll see you again tomorrow.